Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Your favorite podcast, it's Critical Blast.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish. They're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Silver Sunday on this Sunday, October the 17th. We are trying to figure out what's going on. We have, when we went live, it said we have been blocked on Facebook from going live. And I don't know what that's all about. So I will try periodically to get us reattached to Facebook. But for now, we are just going to have to post the links to the YouTube and the Twitter. No, not Twitter. Dadgum, I can't get in my social medias right tonight. And the Twitches, because I don't know what's going on. That's the first time I've ever seen that. So I don't know if it's because we have a strike against us. We go live too much, or we said something they didn't like. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So yeah, if you're on the Book of Face and wondering why you don't see us, that's why, because we are literally not there, and I don't know why. But I've got a little button up here on StreamYard that I can try to periodically go live. But see, it says you have been temporarily blocked from performing this action, and I don't know why that's the case. So I don't know. So tonight we'll just go to YouTube and to Twitch, and we'll make the best of it. So yeah. So welcome everyone. I think I already said that. Quick round of introductions, and then we will get on. I'm Roland. I am the chief cook and bottle washer at Silverline, and yeah, that's me. Curtis. Hello,
all right. Hey, everybody. I'm Curtis Fujita. I'm the creative director at Silverline. I'm also a martial arts instructor, and I'm the creator of the upcoming Silverline comic book Shadow Ghost, the Kung Fu comic by a Kung Fu master. So that's me.
I just I love that tag line, and I don't know if you listen to Tuesday, the guys on Tuesday or was it Wednesday? I forget, Tuesday or Wednesday. They talked about your tagline, so in a very good way. It said absolutely great things about it.
Oh, cool.
So I just got a message that says it might be our connection here, so I don't know if I'll be able to do that. So Roby and then Pete, go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'm going to see if I can't take a peek at this.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Roby or Roberta Conroy, and I've been a comic book colorist since the early 90s. I've worked for Malibu with our fair Rolla Man and a number of other people here, Curtis, and at least we're going to say Tommy, but he's not here, so giving him love. Anyway, I am currently a graphic designer, and I also color comics. I've been doing the Cat and Mouse series and the recently released Silverline Team Up Champion and Miss Fury. So that's me. Yep.
All right. So I'll go next this guy, as I'm the only one left. I'm the pencil on that series, Silverline Team Up. I'm Pete. So I pencil Silverline Team Up Champion and Miss Fury. I'm penciling a short cat and mouse story for the upcoming Christmas special, which has been really fun. And I'll be finishing off the Trump series as soon as I can. Yeah, as soon as I can, and then that'll be that's me. I'm just a penciler. What more can I say? I draw things and hand them over to people. They make it look good.
Thanks, you guys. Fantastic job. So let's see here. Quick Kickstarter updates, crowdfunding updates. It says I can start a chat with StreamYard, so we'll see if I can start a chat here. The aforementioned Bear and Silverline Team Up Kickstarter is completely done. It's finished. It's completely fulfilled. Everyone who has who got physical rewards should have them in their hands. If not, they are awful doggone close to arriving to you. And if you don't have it yet and you are concerned, just drop me a line and we can track it. I have not gone on to our shipping thing in the last couple of days, but I know like the last thing I sent out, there were 4 packages. And last time I looked, 2 of them had been delivered. I think one was going to Hawaii, so that might take a little bit longer. So everyone should have your packages. Kalis, we've received funds from Indiegogo, but we have not received the funds from Kickstarter yet. As soon as we receive those, we will submit those files to the printer so that we can get those, so we can pay for them and get those printed and then get them hopefully on their way to you quickly. And of course, we are in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign right now. And in fact, let's just run, it's a really quick, short little video. So let's just run this little video so that you guys can see what we're talking about. If you haven't seen it, enjoy.
Best cosplay ever.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! It's Santa Claus, and I'm here to tell you about some Silverline crowdfunding stuff. You know Silverline. They're the comic book company that's an independent, genre-spanning, you know Silverline! They're getting ready to do one of my favorites. It's a Christmas special. Ho, 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 ho! You're going to see some of your classic old favorites of Silverline that you like Bear, and Cat and Mouse, and Divinity, and Demon's Tales, and Kalis, and Rochelle, and Teen Beetle, and Trumps, and Twilight Grim. But you're also going to see some new titles. You'll be introduced to them for the first time. Cake Town, Night Rise, Obsoletes, Satin's Ways, White Devil, and Wolf Hunter. That's right, all those are new to you. New to me too. I'm so ready for them. Christmas is my favorite time of year. Oh. You're going to see some of your favorite Silverline creators. like Del Barris, Aiden Belcher, Mike Belcher, Mickey Clausen, Peter Clinton, Roberta Conroy, Brian Dale, Rob Davis, Thomas Formonti, Thomas Hedgeland, Aaron Humphreys, R.A. Jones, Barb Calber, Jeremy Kahn, Brent T. Larson, Roland Mann, Haley Martin, John Medic, and Jackson Rennick. Ho, 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 ho! But you know what? There's also a bunch of new names for you Silverline fans. That's right. People like Dante Berry, Quinn Bedwell, Jim Diaglu, J.W. Franklin, Ron Fortier, you know his name, Jose Fuentes, Cassisi Harris, Richard June, Wes Loker, Henry Martinez, and Tim TK. That's right. It's gonna be grand. It's gonna be big. Oh, ho, 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 ho. So make sure you pledge to the Silverline Christmas special now. It'll get to you in time for Christmas. It'll look good wrapped up under your tree or in your Christmas stocking. Ho, ho, ho! Make mine Silverline! Wait, that was supposed to be Merry Christmas.
Okay, so thank you, Curtis. So
Well, I see where Brittany gets her acting talents from.
So we had to dig into our Christmas boxes earlier because we were like, hey, where's my, because of the shirt and the hat. I was like, where's the Santa hat? I need a Santa hat for this. And so after we got the Santa hat, we were like, well, I might as well get the shirt too. So
Turned out good. I like it.
So it did feel weird doing all that, and it still being not even being Halloween yet. You know,
Yeah.
we haven't even had Halloween or Thanksgiving, so it feels weird. So both of those. So that this, if you haven't backed that, please consider backing it. It is available on Indiegogo. I'll see if I can pop this up right here. Yeah, there we go. It is available on Indiegogo and on Kickstarter, and it's going to be around 100 pages. I think we have about 96 at the moment, but there are a couple that we're still feverishly working on, hoping that we can get them done in time for shipping. And if we do, if we do it, the campaign's still running, we'll announce it, obviously. But if we get it done by the time we get the money, then we'll include those as well. So there's a couple that's kind of exciting.
And if I can add something to that,
Yeah.
And I'm from my friends and stuff like that. I've heard a lot of people really excited about it, and several people literally goes, "Hey, that looks just like the Treasury holiday special." I said, "Exactly. That was the whole point." And they actually said, like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited! I haven't seen anything like this in a long time." And I said, "Well, that's what we're about. That's what we pay homage to or draw inspiration from, is that era of comic books." So
very cool.
People are excited.
Yeah, and I mean, as one who's gotten to see all the stories, as they're being worked on and coming through, it's exciting to see. There's some really good stories in there. It's the thing about it is, it's hard to tell a short story. It's harder to tell a short story than it is to tell a long story. Yeah. People think all the time, it's like, oh, well, it's just do a little short story. And it's like, well, you got to get in all the elements of a story in to make it a good story, right? You got to get in all the required elements of story, and that's not always easy to do in a really short span of pages, And this goes for prose as well. I would assume it goes for film too. Not having made film, I don't know that, but actually, I did make one little short piece. It's about when I was in graduate school. I had to take a film screenwriting class, and I made it's about a 3-4 minute. Wasn't very long at all, about 3 minutes. That's hard though to get kind of any kind of story. So a lot of times the short stories go for twist or turns or punchlines or things like that, and instead of being a full-on story. So, but I can actually say these we've got some good stories in here, and I'm excited about it. Stephen Brown says, "Hi, my comic will hopefully be on Indiegogo next week. I can't wait." Oh, that's exciting, Stephen. Thank you. After over a year and a few months, in just 1 week, I can finally reveal the title. That is very cool. It's exciting. It's exciting for us because we've seen, we've been part of your journey as well, as you kind of kept us posted as to where you are. So that's kind of exciting to see. When you post it, Stephen, absolutely come on here and post your link so folks can see, because I know others have been seeing you post as well. So I had a little chat with StreamYard real quick here while we were doing this, and StreamYard, because I thought it might be something on that that we did wrong here, and he says nope. He says Facebook is blocking you on their end, so I don't know what it is. We'll have to follow up with Facebook and see why they're blocking us from going live on StreamYard. So we'll just have to deal with Twitch. Yeah, I got it right that time. Twitch and YouTube. But that's okay. I like those. So what's new for you guys before we get into our topic?
Well,
For
Ho, ho, ho.
me, we got some stuff going on with Shadow Ghost. So as we kind of previously announced, I'm working with independent recording artist Capitan Wallace, and we're doing a music video for that. We decided the single's going to drop at the end of the month, and so the title of the song is called "Drunken Tiger" is the name of it, and then the music video will probably drop sometime mid next month. So that's kind of what we're doing on the Shadow Ghost side of things. So that's my update.
So Drunken Tiger, as in like the form of fighting?
Yeah, like it, yeah, or an inebriated domestic cat, one of the two. But you pick, up to you.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, and also to clarify, this does have a comic book. The song does have a comic book connection, right?
Yeah. So I mean, the song it's all done. It's a combination of like traditional Chinese instruments and kind of like rock music, and then the music video is actually filmed in San Francisco, Chinatown, and actually at the studio that I trained at there, and also features two of my my kung fu family. So, and one of them will be dressed up as a version, an interpretation of the Shadow Ghost character. So it will be
That's cool.
It'll be directly connected in that sense. Yeah.
That's very cool. Now, did you go up for the filming as well?
No, I didn't get to make it up for that, but I have seen the set photos and the storyboards and everything like that. So now it's just waiting for the actual footage.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. And I think Pete has something going on next weekend, right, Pete? I mean,
oh, right. Yeah. Of course I do. Please. Yeah. Yeah, of course I do. Let me try to get this light so you see what's in.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah. MCM Comic Con. That's where I'll be in London. So all you people flocking over, you can come see me. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, MCM Comic Con at London XL.
Now, what does the MCM stand for? You don't know?
I don't know. No, I don't know.
So important question here, Pete. Are you going to be doing commissions at the show?
Yeah, of course.
Excellent. And are you taking pre-show commissions?
I'm doing pre-show commissions. Of course. I mean, you got 4 or 5 days to get your order in. Yes, I'm doing pre-show commissions. And I'll be doing commissions at all weekends. Yeah. Got to pay for that table somehow.
Yeah. So here's a quick question for you. As one who does commissions at shows, what are your favorite kinds of? Now, obviously, I'm not going to ask you your favorite character to draw, but what are your favorite kinds of commissions? Or maybe what? I hesitate to ask this because just as soon as I do, Tommy will come in and ask you for a commission of this thing. What kind of commission, if there's any, that you're like, oh no, I don't want to have to draw that, right? What as an artist, as one who does commissions?
Yeah, my favorite ones are the expensive ones.
Nice.
Completely mercenary about it. I mean, I'll do you a $10 sketch card all day long, but I'd rather have a couple of $100 commission. No, I don't. There's not one I particularly like more than any other. I mean, I have my favourite characters, and I'll happily I'll just draw anything.
Yeah.
I guess stuff where the character isn't my style, so like manga and anime characters. One, I don't know anything about them. I don't read that stuff, so it just means I'm not going into it with an already formed idea of the character.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I'm going to draw it in my style. Are you going to be okay with that? Because my style
Obviously, you're not Japanese.
Right. And are you going to want me to draw an anime? Because I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
obviously,
ultimately, I'll draw anything. If you're paying, I'll draw it. Can't be picky. I have had when I myself have gone to ask, so will you draw me such and such, and looked at me and gone, no.
Really?
Really? Said, yeah, no, I really hate drawing that character because I can't do it very well. There's the famous Clay Man, who
right? Oh yeah.
So I saw Clay Man years back at Comic-Con in London, and I said, "Oh, will you draw me Loki?" I was trying to get I like getting the bad guys; they're more interesting. And he said, "No." He said, "No, it wasn't Loki; it was the Joker." I said, "Will you draw me the Joker?" He said, "No, I really don't like drawing him because I can never get him right." That's what he thinks.
Wow.
At that time, but he's drawn
Yeah.
a million times since. He said, "No." I said, "But anyone else?" Or look, just And I was like, "Oh, Loki." Then he said, "Yeah, sure." But he said at the time, he said, "I just really didn't like drawing that character." So I was like, "Fair enough."
That's interesting.
Yeah. I didn't know artists could say no.
Of course you can. Pizza. Yeah, I never say no.
I wasn't expecting that. I answered. It's like, no, I really hate drawing that character. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's not something you hear very often. I've not heard very many times someone say no. I have heard on occasion someone say no for reasons like, yeah, I'm not going to draw a DC character because they've been, or Marvel or somebody else like that, because they're like, yeah, no, I'm not, because I don't like them and I'm not going to, usually it's something personal that, oh, well, I got fired by them or whatever, or I don't like this guy, so I'm not going to draw this character, this creator, so I'm not going to draw that character. But those are few and far between.
Yeah.
So someone asks you to do Spider-Man, you're like, oh man, no problem.
Yeah, of course.
But if someone asks you to do,
I can draw a mask, I don't have to draw a face. I don't worry about drawing a face. That saves so much time.
But if someone comes and draws you to draw a Vortex from the Elementals, you're like, probably need some reference.
Yeah, what's that?
Really? I wrote a miniseries, Vortex.
Yeah, Vortex Elementals. Yeah. No, easy.
Yeah. And I love the Elementals. That was early Bill Willingham. Of course, Bill Willingham went on to do. Yeah, everybody tends to know him because he did Fables. But
artists did before having Google on their phone, where I can just type in the character and think, well, I need some reference.
You know what? I always forget about that. Yeah, you could just go to your phone and say,
I have to every time, just to double check I've got the costume right.
Right.
But often it's just what because then there's characters. Do you want the film character or do you want the comic?
Oh, yeah.
Costume. Some people want Thor from the film or Captain America from the film because the costumes differ.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Why anyone would want you to draw some of the film characters, I don't know, but it is what it is.
My preference is I'm gonna draw you the comic book.
Yeah.
Character.
Yeah. The Thor costume, the two big circles on his, I don't even know what those are, but to me, that's his costume. It's like, these circles on his, is this 2 or 4?
4, I think.
There's 2, there's 4 at the top, and he's got 2 at the bottom, which aren't, it's just
big circles on his costume. I don't even know what they are. I'm not sure Jack Kirby knew what they were either, right? But it doesn't matter. They look cool.
That's all that matters. They look cool.
Yep. I think that's one of the things that people have heard me say before. I'm a Todd McFarlane fan. Not necessarily. That doesn't mean I'm a fan of Spawn or a fan of his art or anything like that. I'm a fan of Todd McFarlane. And one of the things he says, is that it needs to look cool. It doesn't have to make sense always.
No.
I mean, they're comic books. We can kind of. Yeah, it needs to look cool. and all these people are like, well, I want to come up with something that could be really real, and I'm like, well, but it's a comic book.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be really real.
It's like sometimes I'll watch a movie with my wife and she'll say like, well, that's not realistic. I mean, if the guide had done that, why didn't he go over to that location and do this first? And I was like, your movie would be really boring. Like
Right, yeah.
it's like, we never see the guy take a bathroom break during the movie, and I don't want to see that.
I don't want
It's,
be a bad, that'd be realistic.
There's a famous Grant Morrison quote that he made. He said, only adults do this. They take this stuff and then they start taking it apart, saying, well, how does he fly? And what's the physics behind this? He said, it's not real. That's how he does it. It's not real.
Yeah.
Kids don't do that. Kids just look and go, wow, that's cool.
It is, right.
How's that possible?
Exactly.
No.
It's not like
It's possible. It's not real.
Like Batman's on patrol and he's like, hold on a second, my blood sugar level is really low.
Yeah.
Let me just have this new, this candy bar, would not be good.
I think that's crept into art as well, because now you start seeing, and I do this because I like having that realism, but you start seeing the seams on like the gloves and the trousers, and because that's how they're made. They have a seam and it's stitched together.
Right.
Yeah.
It used to be it was just painted on, basically.
Right. Yeah.
But now it's like, well, how do they put that on and how does that work? It's like, it's not real.
You ever see that? You ever see that interview with Jim Lee where he regrets putting treads on Batman's boots because he says like, why has nobody ever done this before? And he puts all those details and he started having to draw it over and over and over again. He's like, oh, that's why.
I draw the boots and I try to do stuff on the bottom of the boot to make them a bit more interesting and to make them a bit more character. But of course, then that you have to draw it every single time, and it is a pain, but it makes it a bit more interesting.
But your Miss Fury had Fury on the bottom, right? If I remember correctly. That was cool.
Yeah, and my cat from Cat and Mouse has a little cat symbol. And I think I just do these little things because they're a bit more. They make it fun for me.
Yeah,
and
it's supposed to be fun.
Yeah, but yeah, it just the shoes aren't flat at the bottom unless it's a dress shoe, and you're not running around fighting crime in your best tuck shoes. Like,
you'd be slipping all over the place, right?
Yeah, exactly. Skating around. So yeah, you've got to have proper boots, and then they look like they're going to hurt when they kick someone as well. So.
Totally.
Yeah. All right. So if you're over across the pond, if you're in England, you're London, go see Pete. Get a commission from him. Roby, what about you? Anything new going on with you?
Well, decorating for Halloween.
or as we call it to Pete, Candy Welfare Day here in the U.S.
Oh yes, Candy Welfare. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I'm still laughing at Pete. You just beg for candy. You send your kids out begging for candy.
Please, sir, can I have some more?
Yeah.
Not a lot going on right now. We're finishing up that Christmas special. We've got that going on. And, I think that's all I can manage at the moment.
Yeah. Yep.
2 weeks to Halloween and all.
Yeah. So now, do you set up for trick-or-treaters there, Roby?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna see. It was really light last year, obviously
because of COVID. Yeah.
But I'm gonna try. Yeah. Give it a good try. It seems like the neighborhood's waking up a little bit again.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. We just heard. We don't want to get too deep into it, but we just heard, and we only know this because my daughter is dating Canadian, but apparently Canada is thinking about shutting down at the end of October. I mean, literally just shutting, closing the doors, and So it's they're like, well, of course, I think all three of he's got 2 or 3 brothers. They're all in the U.S. going to school, and so they're like, well, they can't come home for Christmas now, and so they are really kind of struggling over what they're going to do. Makes it frustrating.
That is.
So.
Yeah, it's going to be like that on a lot of places, I'm afraid.
Sounds like they're all coming to you.
Say again?
Sounds like
Oh,
all
come
coming
to me. Yeah, yeah, because I'm in Florida and we're like, woohoo! Yeah, it just it's funny because I think part of it is how do you talk about things like this anymore without like going too political, right? Well, I think part of it is the part of Florida is the power of the House of Mouse, right?
That's a good point.
I mean, tourism is really what drives so much of Florida's economy. So anyway, I told somebody the other day, I said, in Florida, because they were talking about masks somewhere up north, I forget, but I'm like, yeah, in Florida, I don't ever see anybody wearing masks. Well, that's not true. I don't see that many people wearing masks except for when I go to work now. And I think college campuses in Florida are the number one places that you have to wear masks. So it's just weird that it's there and it's not required in so many other places.
It's weird because it's everywhere here. We don't have a no mask policy anywhere.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Sometimes I have to remind myself. It's kind of like smoking. Like I'll go to other states and all of a sudden they're smoking in a restaurant. I'm like, wow, is that still a thing? And I forget. I'm here in California where,
Oh, you guys haven't had it for years.
Yeah.
So,
How about not used to it?
Over where you are? No. Yeah. So different strokes.
Yeah. Indeed. All right, so let's talk about our topic for tonight, and it's so if you read the topic, it says sick ... comics, and that is not to suggest we're sick of comics, but sick in comics is kind of what I was looking for, but I don't just want to talk about the characters being sick. One of the things I want to talk about is particularly with COVID going around now and that kind of thing. Is how do you, as a freelancer, how do you handle some of the things? So I guess the first thing, let's kind of hit characters being sick in comics. I know I mentioned before we started the stream, the only character I ever really remember being sick in a comic book. Actually, that's not true now. I can remember a second one. But I'd mentioned Captain Marvel and the original Captain Marvel. And part of what we remember with Captain Marvel is that the Death of Captain Marvel graphic novel, in which Captain Marvel dies because he gets sick with cancer. And it's a powerful, powerful story about a powerful guy, right? A powerful hero getting a sickness which he can't do anything about. And it's one of the two times I cried reading comic books was the Death of Captain Marvel. So what about it? You guys, can you think of any other characters getting sick in comics, and how does it affect them?
And you're not just talking mental ill, right?
What now?
A lot of them are mentally ill.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
That's a good point.
There's obviously made up diseases and things, because the mutants have suffered the legacy virus, which killed Colossus. He died to save them all. That's quite famous. The only other one that actually has a real world illness was in Green Arrow, and was it Speedy? The girl, she had HIV.
Oh,
so that was a big thing.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. But she didn't die. It was just something she had to live with.
Well, so here's the question for you then. How did it affect Speedy in the comics? Did she physically, like, did she get thinner, or did she get weaker?
No, I don't think they portrayed it that way. They portrayed it in a way that is, it's something you can live with, and it's not a death sentence it used to be.
Right.
I think there was it was a while ago. I think there was a scene where she was cut and she was bleeding, and she was very conscious that the others couldn't help her.
Right.
She was very you stay away from me.
Don't touch my blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's all I can remember. That there was a big issue where it was revealed, like in the Green Arrow comics, so they revealed other Speedy was a drug addict.
Drug addict. Yeah, I remember
It was
those.
sort of
Yeah.
like the Speedies seem to get it quite hard. Uh, yeah, I've got that issue somewhere. I can't remember what issue it was, but yeah, it was quite powerful comic book cover. Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, that's the only one I can think of that was other than Captain Marvel had a real world illness.
So the Colossus thing. Now, I have not read the Colossus thing. Did he just kind of get sick and die, or was it a process?
Well, the legacy virus. Now, this is going back a bit. I think it was created by someone's going to correct me here. Apocalypse Strife or some of those futuristic people to wipe out mutants, and it killed loads of them. But they developed a cure. The only way to activate the cure is by injecting it into Colossus, and he would have died. He died, but by dying, it activated the cure, and the cure spread throughout mutantdom. I think something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
So he had to sacrifice himself, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it was a pretty instant kind of thing. It's not something that he had to deal with.
No. Yeah. And then they made a big thing about Colossus coming back. When Joss Whedon took over the X-Men back, I don't know when that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big deal because no one dies for long.
No, not in comic books. They don't.
Except for Captain Marvel. I'm sorry. I think that's because his death really, because if you give it the real world illness thing and they die because it cheapens it if you bring them back, because people who in the real world who die from that don't get to come back. So
right,
you can't kill someone from cancer and say, oh, it's all right, we'll be back in a few issues. So they did the right thing there.
Yeah.
I think that's probably why there's so many made up
sicknesses.
Diseases in comics and things and illnesses. You can play around with it.
I remember the technovirus, right? I mean, the technovirus.
Oh, yes, the technovirus, the phalanx.
Yeah, which was like the mechanical stuff, right? Which was like Cable had that and all those kind of things.
That's right.
Yeah. So there was that.
Because you can make a bad guy out of those things. You can make it a bad guy that they fight and punch. Where it's why the Captain Marvel thing was so powerful. I think was because there wasn't anyone to punch or
right.
Beat.
Yeah,
it was just
and that was one of his big frustrations.
Yeah.
Definitely. Or bring people down now, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that, certainly the last, all going on 2 years, a year and a half, the whole world has been wrapped up in this sickness. And so, I would dare say at this point in time, we probably all know someone who's been affected in some way, I don't know. There's several of us of the Silverline team who've had COVID. I had it back in July, and so. But it's one of those things. It's like, okay, how does that? It affects your day to day life as a normal human being. It affects your day to day life. You can't do the thing. I was tired even after I got over it. I was tired. I mean, just tired. I would do stuff, and then I was like, man, I'm wore out for at least a month. And that's just being tired. I felt better. I just got tired real quickly. So, that kind of got me thinking is like, there's Captain Marvel, of course, but who else? What other kind of sicknesses do you see?
Yeah. There was one, I don't recall if it was Marvel's imprint Epic, but I think it was called Strike Force Morituri or something along those lines.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Strike Force. Yeah.
But wasn't the deal with them is there was like an alien invasion and they got injected with this virus so they could fight them with superheroes, but they would only live for a year, I think was the whole catch. I think that was the book, wasn't it? Something along those lines.
I think that was a Hudnall book too, Strike Force Mortuary.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing is they had the powers, but they purposely did, and it was like a suicide mission because they only had 1 year before the virus or whatever that it was going to kill them.
It's been so long since I've read that book. I honestly I can't tell you.
Yeah,
I remember liking the book quite a bit though.
Yeah, Epic had some really cool titles, and that's kind of almost like a lost piece of history of Marvel, like the Ultraverse as well. But they had some really cool stuff back then.
Yeah. Well, there's Typhoid Mary, right? If you think about villains that kind of might represent sicknesses. Certainly, there's Typhoid Mary. I think created by Ann Nocenti, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. And then John Romita designed her, and John Romita Jr. I should say.
Junior, yeah.
Junior did. Yeah.
JR, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good storyline too.
Yeah.
Um,
His Punisher is still one of my favorite Punishers. I mean, he was like made for that book, I feel like. And I like his Daredevil too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it did come to me. I didn't know if Pete might remember. I'm still getting the temporary block from Facebook. I didn't know if Pete might think of this, but I remember Spider-Man getting sick once. And it was early Spider-Man. It was John Romita Sr. artwork, because I still picture it. I don't remember exactly what issues it was, but I remember multiple issues he was sick, and they would draw him with the little bubbles around his head to the show that he's got something going on with him, and I don't remember when that was. But yeah, multiple issues that he was sick, and it affected his ability to spar with.
I do remember every now and then he'll have a flu or something.
The flu, yeah, it was.
Yeah, they do that to him, affect him, his spider sense, and he slows him down. And he's a hero; he has to fight through it.
Right. Yeah.
He doesn't get a day off; he just has to.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. I do remember.
Yeah. All right, I got to Google it now, see if I can find it.
I even remember that being it forming a part of the cartoon series that in the 90s. I'm sure there was a couple of episodes where he had the flu. And he just felt really run down.
Yeah.
Yeah, heroes don't get that day off, so there he was. Getting on with it.
Well, and I think that, and I think that's part of what sort of being the hero is that, hey, even if you get sick, you've gotta fight through it because you have good to do. Okay, yeah. So the first thing that popped up was Cora. Said, "Can Spider-Man get sick?" And then it said, "Or will his healing?" Then the rest of the question that comes up, "Or will his healing factor save him?" It says he can get sick. He's been shown with a cold or flu.
Yeah.
But let's see here. So here it says in issue 12, that would be Ditko, wouldn't it? He caught the flu, pretty much lost his powers, and had to fight Dr. Octopus. So that's not the one I'm thinking of, though. I'm thinking of a different one, but all these went on to different questions. Stephen Brown says, I remember comic Peter Parker lost his leg and his daughter took on the mantle and became Spider-Girl.
Wow.
Well, I don't remember that.
Really?
I don't know.
That's impressive.
I remember when he got the multiple arms, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was cool.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. And now that was as a result of drugs too, wasn't it? Wasn't that part of the drug storyline or an after effect of the drug storyline?
Oh, I don't remember. I just remember the imagery,
Oh. I know the
Yeah,
6 arms. Was it the drug? Well, I thought it came a bit further after that. I don't know.
So
Harry Osborn was into the happy pills. But,
yeah. Well, and those were around like issue 97, 98, 99, something like that. And then I think the multiple arms were like 100, 101, wasn't it?
Yes.
So that's kind of why I'm thinking that it may have been related somehow, but I don't recall. Again, it's been too long since I've read those. I can't be certain.
Can't cast aspersions against Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Druggy.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm still trying to look for answers as to why we can't, broadcast to Facebook, but I am not finding any answers whatsoever. I even went to, we've got a little on our page, the Silverline page on Facebook, which is where we broadcast. you could check something that says your violations, and it says no violations. So I don't know why. I don't know why we're blocked. So be interesting to see if we can figure out what that is.
Yeah.
Really.
What else? Anybody think of any other characters who've been sick?
Well, in Watchmen, right, the villain Moloch had cancer.
Oh, of course he did.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah. And that was a kind of little bit of a plot point, that tied into the whole conspiracy in it. So
yeah,
there was that, right? I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, I don't know, but as a writer, Roland, it would seem like that's the best way to up the stakes, right? When you have a character that's always like invincible, or it's always the same two guys fighting each other. If you put the hero at an extra disadvantage, right? Then all of a sudden it ups the stakes, as opposed to being routine, right?
Absolutely, yeah. One of the things that you're absolutely right. One of the things that I kind of harp on in class is that part of what makes heroes is they're able to do things that quote unquote normal people can't do. And we're not even talking about superheroes, but we're talking about heroes. James Bond can fall out of a plane and open up his parachute at the last minute and fall into a puddle of water and survive, right? Yeah, most normal people can't do that, So, and have a fist fight on top of a moving train, most of us probably crawl on top of the train and get blown off like a wet leaf,
Yeah.
So heroes have to be able to do things that is above and beyond. And part of what you have to do as a writer is toss obstacles in their way, make it difficult for them to overcome these obstacles. That's where the conflict comes from. And we want to read comics because, it has conflict. And I don't just mean fighting conflict, but I mean conflict, man, I am racking my brain trying to think of any other characters that have been sick. And so I guess one of my questions would be, how come? We all get sick, right? I mean, all of us get sick from time to time. Why don't we see more characters getting sick?
I think you kind of said it. Is we all get sick. We all know people get sick. I mean, there is that level of escapism, right? You have to. You can't. I mean, Spider-Man, threaded the needle in the sense that you could see him not paying his bills. But I mean, we all have that kind of problem in real life. I mean, if it was just Spider-Man, having to go to the collection agency for unpaid bills, it would be boring. Or if they're sick and they're incapacitated, how can they go on these big adventures? So I think maybe that might be the reason why.
Yeah,
it depends on the level of illness. If it's flu, if you get the flu, you're expected just to get on with life, aren't you?
Right.
So if the hero gets the flu, you would expect them. Oh yeah, okay, big deal, buddy. Get on with it.
Right.
So it has to be a pretty serious illness. You go, oh yeah, it's gonna be tough for him.
Yeah, I've got the sniffles. Who cares?
Yeah.
We don't want to see our heroes. We don't want to see our heroes with dysentery. So that'd be a bad issue. They wear those tights, and
Oh,
That's right.
it's like Spider-Man, where are you going? Oh, I've got to go do my laundry again. This is like the third time you've done laundry in 3 pages. Yeah, I know.
Stop mid-fight. Wait. I'll be back. I'm going anyway.
He's swinging off. He's swinging away, and his butt cheeks are clenched.
That's what the webbing's for, Roland.
Oh no.
And now we have a reason not to be on Facebook. So thank you.
You just went there.
We just went there on Facebook. We
Oh,
understand.
no.
We understand what happened.
Guys.
Stephen Brown said it. I think Mr. he's talking about the where Peter Parker lost his leg. I think Mr. Fantastic offered to make or regrow Peter a new limb, but he thought it was his time to hang up the tights for good, and he was given a prosthetic leg. He decided to stop being Spider-Man.
Well, yeah. If anything's gonna make you stop swinging around, it's not having a leg.
Yeah.
That makes landings pretty hard. I guess you could swing to your heart's content, but the landing is pretty tough. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm trying to think. I can think of secondary characters that have been sick. Particularly, you think of was it Silvermane? His Silvermane was sick in bed in the hospital, or actually at home. Tubes running in and out of him on his deathbed. And then, of course, that's when he got something happened and he turned into a villain. But I can't think of any particulars, but I can recall images of bad guys, right, being in the hospital, tubes all hooked up or whatever.
Wasn't there something in Peter David's Hulk? I think I remember there's something with the character that got AIDS at one point. I can't remember, but it was one of the supporting characters, right?
Betty Banner was supposedly died through gamma radiation poisoning because she'd spent so much time with.
She hung out with him too
the
much.
Hulk. Yeah, I remember that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Shadowhawk had AIDS. Shadowhawk was Jim Valentino's book. That was like one of the things that was revealed at one point, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, did North Star have AIDS?
I don't know if he did or not. I don't know. I never really saw the mutants. The mutants never really got too sick, other than that Colossus thing that Peter was mentioning.
Yeah. That I think about it, I'm thinking a North Star from Alpha Flight might have had AIDS.
Okay. Yeah.
It's one of those that it's been way too long for me since I've read it to speak with any kind of certainty. I don't know. But yeah, I think what Pete was saying, I think that it depends on what it is. It's not really visually very interesting if a character is laid up in the bed, right? If they can't move, they're laid up in the bed. You can create some dangerous scenarios. Oh, we have to protect this character while this happens, right? Or while they heal. I can remember an Avengers issue when Captain America was in the hospital. And the rest of the Avengers had to protect him, keep him safe, because it was the assassin story where Cap got whacked, and they were trying to operate to save his life, and the Avengers had to protect him because the assassins were still trying to get to him. So, but the action from there is part of a team. The action there comes from Thor and Iron Man and the rest of the Avengers, not necessarily Cap, but from the rest of the Avengers. But I think if you're going to have a sickness, it's got to be something that they can, walking sickness that we can see them try to overcome as they go about and do their other stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing that Captain Marvel did, is they made it very poetic, right? There was like a lot of, if I remember correctly, hallucinatory kind of stuff, symbolic kind of stuff that they did to kind of show that battle. And I think it still has to have that kind of drama, that kind of high drama. So
yes. Yeah. I think so. And again, part of what we have to think. All right. So if you guys didn't know this already, Huckleberry Finn is one of my all-time favorite novels, right? It's just a fantastic novel. The problem with a lot of so part of Huck's conflict is he is with a runaway slave, a Jim, and that's who he is traveling with. So part of Huck's conflict is interior, right? Oh, I have to, am I doing the wrong thing? Because the right thing would be to turn Jim in because Jim's a runaway slave, but that doesn't feel like the right thing to do. So I'm conflicted. I don't know what to do. Should I do it? I like Jim. Jim's a good guy. So that's his interior conflict. The problem with interior conflict in comics is that you can't draw it, right? It's not visual. Now, you can have interior conflict as long as you layer it with exterior conflict, which, Peter Parker is a great example, right? Peter Parker had all kinds of interior conflict, but that interior conflict was coupled with exterior conflict
of, you know, Dr. Octopus, the Vulture, Kingpin, all these, right? You can just you name all of them, right? That was the exterior conflict he had while having the interior conflict. The problem comes when I see, you know, a lot of newer comics is that's all they have is the interior conflict, and they're just people standing around talking and griping and complaining. And I'm like, this is boring. It's not visually very exciting.
Yeah.
If that's all you're going to do, write a novel.
That's like I was thinking about when Chris Claremont and Frank Miller did that Wolverine miniseries. That's a really good example of that, because he had the interior conflict of him deciding if he's the beast or the man, and then all the action adventure. And when they adapted that to screen, they missed that entire important part of it, that conflict of the man versus the beast, right? So,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, shouldn't I be sharing my screen? It's really
Yes.
I'm
You know
looking.
what? I didn't even
Sorry,
think
I
about that
didn't
until
notice.
just now. What we've been through an hour now.
Sorry.
That's okay. I didn't think about it
I'm
either.
sitting here all drawn. I'm like, wait a minute.
Well, and I've been all wrapped up in this. Why can't we share to Facebook? It's like, I don't understand what has happened that we have been temporarily blocked from performing this action. So I don't know the answer to that.
One of our competitors complained about us to get the other hand.
I mean, I guess, but wouldn't they have sent us a message?
You'd think.
Yeah, mate.
You know,
I
you would think
don't
that
think we have enemies in the business. So I don't think we're
Everybody,
kind of
they're trying to stop Treasury Edition comics and holiday specials.
Yeah.
Join the fight and back us on Indiegogo.
That's right.
Don't let them win.
Don't give them
I agree with
satisfaction.
him. Don't let them win. They're
Don't let
trying.
them win. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't. Oh, wait. Hold on. My account restricted. This is
What
my
have you been
personal
doing, mate?
account.
All right.
Oh no! You got to be kidding me.
Oh,
You figured it out.
I think so. So, of course, you probably didn't see it because they deleted it. So, 5 years ago, 2016, I made a post. It was just a meme, really. That's all I did.
oh yes. Yes, I
Uh-oh.
saw.
Did you see that? Right?
I think, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's what
yeah.
it's called.
Okay.
And so now it says I have restriction on my account.
Wow.
Because of a meme 5 years ago.
Yeah, because of a
Interesting.
meme.
So 5 years
5
ago
years
it was
ago.
okay, but 5 years later it's not, apparently. Wow.
Well, is it still there?
No, they deleted it.
Wow.
That's the thing. They deleted the meme, and so okay, what's today? The 17th. So this was done. Yeah, on Friday. Yeah. So I don't know what to do now. I'll see if I can't contest this, and
Yeah.
it says I can't go live for 30 days.
30 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, figure out. Can't be that.
That's what it's because it says
It will be
restriction
that,
for
yeah,
life.
it will be that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
here's some coloring. I'll cheer you up.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Ooh, look at that.
So this is
Nice.
such an interesting page.
Ooh, and I like those boots with it looks like a cat symbol on the
Oh,
bottom.
there you
Yeah,
go.
look at this
How about it?
little little cat symbol
Right.
right there.
That's cool.
I love it.
I like it too. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Trademark copyright me.
There you go. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
Give me a little TM next to
Oh,
it.
there's no underneath of the boot there. I guess we don't need it.
This is looks great.
Yeah, so this will be fun.
I love that second panel, Pete. I love how you have those
Isn't this cool?
compositionally that diagonal.
I love
angle
their
just kind of
legs.
continues through to the other two and the composition.
Yeah,
Great-
if you look
great stuff.
overall,
Mhm.
it says really well done.
Yeah,
It,
very well
it
done.
really leads you around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Some
Pat
action.
yourself on the back.
Professionally trained, you know.
Love it.
Okay, so I think I'm figuring this out. It's not restricted because of they removed it. It's restricted because I posted that they removed it. Right? So I took the screenshot and posted that they removed that they had removed it. And
Oh,
that's
well, there you
Crystallise your
go.
overlord.
There you go.
You should know
that's
better.
what got it removed.
You're
Wow.
trying
Yeah.
to go
Wow.
against their
Yeah.
removal.
Yeah. So
Don't
yeah.
criticise your overlords.
Overlord.
it's so true though.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still sticking to the story that they're trying to stop the Treasury Edition.
Yeah.
That's right.
And that
Yep.
we need you at home to do your part and back us on Indiegogo. That's
Go
what I'm
support
sticking
it.
to. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm all for that.
Stephen Brown says, I don't remember many characters becoming sick, but it might have been interesting to see a hero who is sick fighting the good fight. Yeah. And I think so. I think that's kind of some of what we talked about is having to see them kind of get through, overcome the obstacle of being sick. Because if you've ever been sick, you feel like crap. I mean, you can function, as Pete pointed out, right? Get on, do your job. but you feel, I know that particularly these days for me, all I ever want to do is just sleep. Like I don't feel good. I just want to sleep. Just leave me alone. I know that I'm okay. I just want to sleep. So that will segue us into the next part is that as comic books are generally, not always, but generally done on a timeline. Certainly, corporate comics, they've got a schedule that they've got to keep. They've got to produce, print and ship a new product every single month. More than that, I mean, if you're counting all their books, but if you're just looking at titles, they got to get those things out on time. What a lot of people don't realize, and this is one of the things that I mentioned in my class, is that Marvel, and I would assume DC does too, but I know Marvel does, or at least did this, I should say, from back in the day. They book printing time with their printers, and so they're like they schedule time. And so what happens is if they miss that, they got to pay the printer anyway, right? So they tell the printer, hey, we're going to have book X to you on this day by this time, and the printer says, okay, we'll schedule your printing from 9 a.m. to 12, and that's when we'll print your book, right, or whatever. And if you don't deliver a book to them, guess what? You're going to pay anyway, because they're like, yeah, we held this, we didn't schedule anything because we held this for you, and they're going to lose business if they don't have anything there. And
I think that's fair. I think that's, otherwise, you just keep doing that and they'll go out of business. So
right, yeah.
Fair.
So that's why it's people often ask, well, why are they so strict with deadlines? It's, well, number one, it's a periodical, and you kind of have to be, right? But number two is that it's there's money in it, and if you don't get your book to the printer on time, you got to pay money. So get your book to the printer, right? So there's that aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a creator, as a freelancer, how do you handle doing the work, keeping the schedule with being sick?
Well, that is tough. As we know, I was hospitalized a while ago. And
That's right.
I didn't go to the drawer. I didn't get I thought, so I was back from hospital on a Monday, and I'd written off the Monday. I wasn't going to get out of bed. It just wasn't physically possible. Fortunately, I didn't have a deadline for that Monday. I don't know what I would have done if I did. I just had to say, look, sorry, I'm in hospital. I can't draw from here. And I thought, the Tuesday I'll probably be able to get back to drawing. Because it's in the back of your mind, I've got things to finish.
Oh, yeah.
I need to get back to it. I'll probably get back to it on Tuesday. And Tuesday rolled around. I was like, I don't feel very well. I don't feel very well. I'll get back to it on Wednesday. And Wednesday, I finally got back to the drawing board. And I know of some people who've had a death in the family, and they've thought, well, no, sorry, I've got a deadline. You can't stop. And I think that's a very difficult thing to do. If it's
I
a
do
close
too.
relative, it's really tough. I was sick, and okay, if it's definitely you're not sick, so technically you can keep working. But I was out. I couldn't get out of bed. I think you just what can you do? You just say, like, I'm really sorry. If the deadline's that tight, you probably weren't going to hit it anyway. You know, if a day or two is going to throw you out, you probably weren't close enough anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was no way. If I had a deadline that Monday or Tuesday, I wasn't going to hit it. I was like, no. And yeah, I think it's just something you've just got to accept. Don't run your deadline so tight that you can't have a day off.
Well, and that's it. You know, don't. I think the thing would be, don't treat your deadlines like you treated your homework in school.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, don't wait to the last minute to do it. Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I say that as an instructor. I know so many of my students wait to the last minute to do their work. I know because I'm often getting emails at the last minute. Hey, you know, this email, this assignment that's due tonight. Can you explain to me blah blah blah? And I'm like, you had all week to send me this email, right? So yeah.
I see pros dropping out of conventions because they've got deadlines, and you're like, yeah, I understand, because that's your job at the end of the day. The convention's not your job; that's a perk of your job.
Yes.
So there's no point doing conventions if you haven't got a book to draw. So
right.
Yeah, they drop out for those reasons. And I see some guys for the week before the convention, they burn up their time trying to get ahead so they can have 3 days in which they're not fussed. Because deadline's all important.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I think as a fan, you know, it's frustrating to go to a convention and know that a book is late because of an artist, and then you see them sitting there, you know, doing a whole bunch of commissions. You know, you're like, wait, you're doing why are you drawing the pages? The book is late. You know.
Yeah. I want my Kickstarter.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's like, I want my Kickstarter book. What the heck, dude? Oh, you laugh, but that's a real story. I've seen that.
Oh yeah, somebody actually called them out and said,
I don't know that they called them out, and I didn't call them out, but I saw them at the convention, you know, saying that, and they just made a post or something like this. Hey, you know, I'm still, you know, I know it's late, but I'm still working on the art, and you know, and then I'm like, you go to the convention and you see them doing commissions, and I'm like, well, that's not the artwork for your book.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it can be frustrating.
I think it's a fine line too. I mean, it's definitely the communication between the employer and the creator, right? And in time you start to learn. It's like a relationship. You start to learn what are the good places for you to work and which ones aren't. In the beginning, you don't really have a choice, right? But it's like I've seen I've had a lot of jobs where it's unrealistic expectations for the timeline, you know. Now it would be my responsibility to accept that job or not.
Right.
You know? And depending on what I have going on in my life, like when I got my first freelance job for video games, I was waiting on tables part-time, going to art college full-time, and doing freelance work and sending it to Japan, because this is like pre-internet, right? Like FedEx box stuff.
Right.
And I recall getting home from waiting tables and having my drafting table, and I had my deadline and my class project due the next day. So I was doing oil paints on one side of my desk, and then I would let it kind of dry for a second and then go over and do character designs.
Wow.
And back and forth, right? Until like, yeah. And then falling asleep in class the next day, right? So, something's gotta get. But I also recall being in video games where it was pretty obvious what one of our bosses would do is they would take the job from the publisher. They would make all the workers work overtime and give us a separate deadline than what was the real deadline. So we would rush and do like a 6-month project in 3 months. And then they would sit on 3 months of funding. Yeah, tell the publisher like, hey,
jerks,
you know, yeah. And then they would use that 3-month window to go ahead and find another job from another publisher, right? And so they could double down on the money and kind of keep them like a Ponzi scheme, keep it going, you know?
That's not right.
Yeah, but it's unfortunate, you know. But things like that are common in games. So yeah,
Wow.
so it all depends. All depends.
Wow.
I think that sort of stuff, workers being abused by their employers, it's just common practice most places.
You know,
Yeah, I think
it's
you're
got to
right.
be hard to have freelancers turn their work in on time also. So, you know, it's got to be hard to choose like how honest you want to be with the freelancer on how much time they have versus like how often you get burned.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I mean that's actually a really good question, because you know I know that at Malibu I always built in a little buffer time for all the for all of the deadlines. It's like, okay, well, you know, here's the deadline, but I'm gonna ask my penciler to get it to me. You know, basically what I would try to do is build in a week's buffer for every job, right? So here's my final deadline, right? But I'm going to go all the way back to the penciler and I'm going to tell him, here's this deadline, and you know, then and build an extra weekend for him, and then here's the inker's deadline, build an extra weekend for him, right? And just kind of buffer it out that way. And you know that seemed to work, because then if they were a day or if they were a couple of days late, then it didn't hurt you. Now, if they were more than that, then you start cutting into the time of the other, you know, the other creatives, and you know that makes, and that's the other thing I think you have to consider as a freelancer is that, you know, particularly when you're early in the chain, like writers, I always say writers are first. If the writer's late, you piss everybody else off down the stream because you're cutting into their time, right? And of course, the penciler is the next guy. And you know, I mean, I've seen inkers bail on jobs because they're like, no, you're only going to give me 2 weeks to do it, and this penciler's had 8 weeks to do this job. That's not fair to me, you know. And of course, then the other thing they're saying is like, well, he's going to be pissed because I'm not going to ink it very good, right? So the penciler's going to be mad at me, because I had to do it in 2 weeks, but he took 8 weeks to do it, and then he's going to be mad at me. So.
Well, didn't you say, Roland, and we don't need to say the person's name on air, but there was an artist that worked for Malibu, went to work for Marvel, and got the distinction of being the guy that would bail out people as a penciler.
Yes.
But at the same time never got to show his full capabilities because of the tight deadlines, right?
Right. Yeah. Because he could turn a book around in like a week, an entire comic, right? But obviously it looked like he turned it around in a week. You know,
and then they wouldn't hire him for
a regular gig. Yeah.
So by bailing him out,
we were warned about that at school. They're saying if the guy, if the editor comes to you and said, "Oh, I need it in 2 weeks." At this stage at your career, you're like, yeah, just give me work. I want to work for you. Give me some work. They said, don't do it, because you'll become known as the guy. Oh, we need a tight deadline. He'll rush it out, and then you'll never get anything else. Just so
it's like you're on a list.
Yeah. So, he's the guy we go to. It will never look great, but it will get done. So, that's the main thing.
Yes. Yeah, and then you'll be that guy who can do it, but it doesn't look that great. So no, I don't want him on the book when I go to do a regular. When I'm looking for a new regular team, no, I don't want that guy, right? Because it doesn't look that good. But he only had 2 weeks to do it. Yeah.
It should factor into your impression, but you know that'll never happen.
No.
Yeah.
We do have a couple comments here. Let's see here. Stephen Brown said, since I'm freelance, I challenge myself to get a page done within a day, including inks. I think you have to set yourself a schedule, and you know, when you're your own boss, you got to do that. You got to say, hey, I got to have this stuff done. And then you got to be willing to, you know, make the cuts. It's like, okay, well, I didn't get this done, so I don't get to hang out with the guys this weekend or whatever, right? Whatever kind of thing is your thing. You gotta be willing to get it done. I know you guys have probably heard me say it, but you know, and I talk about this a lot. When I was first trying to break in, you know, I was still in college, and even right after college. I got a job as a 40-hour-a-week job as a retailer. Actually, Stephen Butler and I were both assistant managers at a bookstore, and I put in 40 hours at the bookstore, and then I'd easily come home and put in 40, 50 hours trying to make comics. And BJ, bless her heart, stuck with me the whole time. She understood that was what I wanted to do, but you had to put the time in, you have to put the hours in, and I don't know that we talk about this that much. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but you got to have the support at home to be able to do this too, because it does require time that, I could be, instead of doing this, right, I could be sitting on a couch watching NCIS or something with her. You know what I mean? But I spend that time making comics. And she's good with that.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's like when I first started dating, the lady that became my wife, it was like we had to have the talk, right? Which was like, especially because all the martial arts stuff, I'm like hardcore into martial arts, and all I was doing was martial arts events, martial arts this, training. And one time she got upset, understandably so, and she said, like all you do is this, and I had to tell her, I said, well, all the things that you like about me, how I view the world, my philosophy, how I act, all those values, all those things come from this. You can't have this one without the other. And somehow she agreed to that. So, but
Fuck it up. This is it. It's going to be.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a day-to-day process. We'll have an update next week. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah. After she hears the replay of this, I'll let you know how it goes. Right?
Exactly. I'll tell her it's on Facebook.
Yeah. So Cassisi's got a question here, and you guys may have to help me out with this. He says, I'm curious, in manufacturing or the service industry, people will often use lean principles or 5S methodologies of organization to try to get try to do more in limited time. Do creatives follow similar methodologies? Meaning, are there certain
First off, I've got no idea what any of that means.
I
don't either.
I understood what that is.
Let me finish the whole thing, then we can go. And this is meaning, are there certain principles you use or employ to do more jobs in less time, or do you go off of gut feel? I think I know the answer to that after hearing our reactions.
There's the red herring, right? Is everybody familiar with the red herring methodology?
Well, from Scooby-Doo, yeah.
It is.
Huh? Well, it's you either put one thing that's egregious in your thing that's an easy fix, like if you're supposed to have a pond, you put one of the herrings that's red so that the client looks directly at it, complains about it, and you've already planned how to get give it because
I know that technique.
Yes. Because there's some people that they don't feel they're doing their job unless they give you something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is giving all credit to the person who hired you, right? Is you say, I did this because you had this great idea to do this. It was you thought this was excellent. You, and they go, yeah, that was my idea. So you have varying success with those methods.
Yeah. I don't know, Cassisi, and it just sounds like I'm not the only one. I don't know what lean principles or 5S methodologies of organization are.
Should just said, yeah, I use those. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's good.
I use 6S methodologies actually.
It's one better than 5, right?
Exactly.
Wait, are you still using those? World's moved on.
Yeah. The 6 methodologies are the methodologies of the beast. Thank you.
It's like my amplifier goes to 11, right?
Yeah.
Why 11? Because it's one better than 10.
Well, the method is I have a Rolodex in my head of what needs to be done, and I like pop one in there and say, "Can I do it? No. Can I do it? Yep." That's
right.
my method.
I want to say that I do the ones that pay the most first.
Yeah.
That's not true. I do the ones that I really want to draw at the time. Like, you know what? I want to do this one today.
Yeah.
It's a terrible business model and it's not going to work long term.
Yeah.
Well, I want to draw that today. That's cool. But no, that one pays. But no, I'm going to draw this one. That's cool. Yeah.
Let me,
So
let
what
me
I
make a
tend to
personal
do,
note
which is
here. Make sure I always put cool stuff in my
Yeah.
stories for
Yeah.
peeps.
I notice that I always gravitate towards the uncomfortable things first so that it's gone.
Get them out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that either puts me out of my element, so I'm more nervous about it. If I put it off, then I panic when it's
yeah.
due. You know, so I tend to do that. I pick something that I know is really, really easier to be after it so I can relax a little.
Well, you know, Wubba did that with the. I'm calling him out here. He did that with the double page spread for the
Mhm.
issue of Cat and Mouse that he did, because he did one and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I kept saying, hey, man, what about the double page spread? Because I kind of like to get started scripting, you know, with some notes and stuff like that. And of course, I didn't feel like I could really script it, skipping a couple of pages.
Yeah, especially a big one like that.
Right. So he's like, yeah, that one's intimidates me a little bit. I'm gonna go back to that one. I'm like, okay. And it was the last two he did. He did all the way to the end until he came back and did pages 2 and 3. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah, see, that's why I do stuff like that first, because I'm like, you know, I did that. I'm all right. I can get through the rest of it.
So I kept when I was when I had the schedule, right, the kind of schedule we talked about earlier, I had to get books out on a schedule. I kept a spreadsheet talking about. I don't know if this is any certain methodology or not, but I kept a spreadsheet that had every title and every art chore in it. So I had every issue one right after the other with every freelancer, the writer, the penciler, the inker, the letterer. I had all of those built in, and then of course, you know, you have to start with the date that it's due to the printer. But once you get one of those in, the rest of it kind of falls like clockwork, right? But once you get the first one, hey, this book is due to the printer on this date, then it's really just kind of about every 4 weeks. And so the first one, then I started with that date, and then like I said, I just kind of backdated all, and then the spreadsheet then goes with all the other issues following, basically shifting themselves down 1 month. So I used a spreadsheet sheet that was a calendar of sorts. And that's the way I kept up with it as an editor.
You'd said that you kind of had the distinction of being you basically were always on time, right?
Yeah. And I kept the in case if anyone ever questions me, I kept the email from Dan Danko that had the report of here's the editor's report. And if I ever showed it, I would have to black out the other editors because I wouldn't want to call them out. But yeah, I kept the email from Dan Danko that said I was the only one that had all of my books on time. So,
and if
that
for
was
those
a
of you
good organization, huh?
Yeah,
it worked for me. There's some of that, but there's also I worked with a lot of really good people, and I think that's that was one of the things that I realized at the time is that I looked who I was working with, and I looked who some of my editorial colleagues were working with, and boy, I gotta really tread lightly here, don't I, Curtis?
Well, that's all it is, really. You have a good group of people that can keep to their deadlines. Then you're happy.
That's it.
Makes you look good.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the other thing is that I think you want to, like you guys know, we talked about Silverline before. I think you want to surround yourself by people who enjoy what they're doing as much as you do. And there were some prima donnas involved in the other editorial offices, and man, I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time working with prima donnas because I'm like, it's comic books. You realize that, right? It's comic books.
Yeah.
And I love comic books, so I'm not trying to disparage them, but I'm like, you realize we're making comic books.
It's like no matter how big you are in comic books, it's still comic books, right?
Yeah.
Like I always say, I wish everybody knew as a martial arts master, when I get groceries, they would bow to me and kiss my feet, but it doesn't work. I had stuff to fill my CVS card.
Okay, but do you wear your karate outfit to nurture shop.
I don't wear the kung fu uniform, and I tell my students not to because I always hate that.
Because
go to the
people will
grocery
challenge
store-
you.
Well, no, you'll see like some kid in the frozen food section wearing his black belt, and it's like it's kind of silly looking, right? But I told my students not to wear it, and they didn't listen to me, right? And the kung fu uniform looks different than the karate uniform is the white one, right? Kung fu is like black with the buttons and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, and I told my students don't wear it outside because there's no reason to, right? And one of my students came into class one day. He goes, "Sifu, you're right." I go, "What?" He goes, "I wore it to the convenience store." I said, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "The lady goes, 'What restaurant do you work at?'" See, it serves you right. It serves you right.
Wow.
So Cassisi said, "Is there some formal methodology that can help creative personnel do more work in less time?"
No.
Cassisi, that's called imprisonment. And I would be lying to you, Cassisi, if I didn't tell you occasionally we had conversations at when I was an editor at Malibu saying, I wish I could just chain this guy up and get him to do his pages, right? There are stories, and Roberta and Curtis, you probably remember these, that when Image was first founded, the Extreme Studios, part of the reason that they were late so much is they spent all their time playing ping pong.
Yeah.
They bought a big ping pong table for the studios, and they all spent their time playing ping pong instead of drawing pages.
There you go.
And so,
we have video games and we still made comics. Right?
Maybe surround yourself with creative people. It spur you on, but also being stronger, you're more reason to socialize and do other things. So
well, and that's one of the reasons that I like these streams, right? Because it helps to kind of keep me energized, because we get to hang out and we get to talk about comics, and we get to watch Roberta color and Pete pencil, and Curtis is doing. I see his head going down, so I know he's doing art at the same time, right? Unfortunately, I can't write at the same time as we stream, but
well, maybe we give you ideas during the stream somehow.
Oh, listen, these are all notes that I've taken during the streams. Some of them are good. Some of them are, are going to hit file 13. But
some of them are good. Some of them are Curtis's. It's fine.
That's good.
What I love is our messages in Facebook. It's like I don't always check it, and like at the end of the day, I'll check it. It's like you've missed 30 messages. And it's like, oh my God,
you really don't want to wait.
No, and then all of a sudden I look and it's like, there's these pages from this and the inks and the colors, and it's like.
And I'm mad because there's this conversation you guys had about equipment, and I'm like, I really can't find it.
Scroll up, right?
Somewhere way in the past.
Well, it's funny. I told BJ not too long ago. I said, I started that Team Silverline chat, the group chat, so that we could kind of, pass information back and forth. It has turned into something else completely, but I'm okay with it because it's there's a I think anyway, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. There's a really great camaraderie and spirit of team and family in that, and I was like, I really like that. That's not what I intended for it to be.
It's the virtual bullpen is what it is. It's literally like walking in the bullpen of a comic book studio, but it's just all like a message board version of it. Right?
Yep.
It's just really cool.
Yeah.
Although I say, Pete jumped the shark when we saw the photos of him, in the hospital. I mean, that was like a showstopper. We said, "Oh my God, what happened?"
I know.
That was to let you know that I wasn't going to get you a page today because I'm here. And also because I bailed out on the Sunday stream because I was being sick, and I was like, I was actually sick. I wasn't what, I'm going to tell them I'm sick.
Who needs a doctor's note when you got a doctor selfie?
Right. Yeah. So what we need to do is one of you guys need to take that picture and Photoshop an art pad and a pencil in Pete's hands while he's laying on the gurney there, right?
Well, I heard this story when I was working in film, right? Was like this one actress was late to one of the meetings, And she was like, up and coming actress, or whatever. So, anyways, the upshot is she said, I got in a car accident, and my business partner goes, he says, did she really? I go, yeah, she showed me the photo, and I showed him the photo. He goes, okay, put it in your computer. He goes, let's look at the timestamp on that. He goes, like, what do you mean? He goes, every aspiring actress in Hollywood has a photo of a wrecked car that they used to get out of situations. And so, back in the day, you can look at the timestamp, right? You right click it, properties, and it was like a year before or whatever.
No way.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, you took that photo a year before, you're off the project.
Really?
Yeah, it's a trick. He goes, they all do it. They all just keep it on them just in case you're late, or a little too much partying the night before. You can get out of your meeting by saying, I got in an accident, here's the photo. So what you do is you right click it, you check for the timestamp, and then you know if it's real or not.
Oh, so
Wow.
Curtis, you're checking the timestamp on my photo I sent over. So
Exactly.
was he real?
I didn't know they had cell phones in 1999.
The thing was, my girlfriend took that photo to show her boss that she was actually in hospital with me, not at work. And the thing is, because she works in the same hospital, she works just it was literally a few feet away from where we were.
So she took you to where she works.
Happy because she'd called in, so I'm not going to be in because he's in hospital. And she took that and then walked it around. It was like, look, he is here. And they were like, oh, okay, no, go take care of it.
Wow.
So it's just,
That's pretty funny.
That is. Too funny. Yeah. Well, just to add on, you were talking about what Kasisi was asking, you were saying about, locking somebody to their desk or whatever. I know in Japan, they used to do that with the manga artists. The publishers would actually pick them up, take them to a hotel room, put them in there, and wouldn't let them out, and would bring the food. They would take the TV out and everything, and you got to get these freaking pages done. And it was actually, some of the artists liked it. They actually needed that kind of disciplinary action.
I'm not encouraging that sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
But sometimes, you could do with that.
Yeah,
Pete's gonna wake up one morning to a knock on the door. We've got a ticket. Come with us. You're gonna
exactly.
And bring your art pad and pencil.
Tell you, when I was at the Cuban school, I got so much done compared to everyone else. Because everyone else had their girlfriends or their family, and I was on my own.
Just like tunnel vision.
And I literally had nothing else to do. And how do you get so much work done? What else am I doing?
Right.
I'm just sat in my room drawing all the time.
It's like, you didn't invite me to go on the date with you and your girlfriend.
Yeah. So she's not there. When she flew over, I didn't even go to school. But when she wasn't there, which was 99% of the time,
right?
What else am I going to do?
Yeah. Sure. Well, and it is kind of true. This is why I say you have to have a supporting partner, but relationships can get in the way of it because in order to have a healthy relationship, you have to spend time with the other person.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been married 31 years, so she knows, it's not that I'm coming in here to avoid being with her. It's, I come into my office because I absolutely love doing what I'm doing. But if I only ever did this and never spend any time with her, well, then that would be a problem. Yeah. And you have to maintain a healthy relationship.
Definitely.
But it's not always easy to do.
It's not. And usually that's for the other person.
Right.
The not easy part is for them.
Right. Yeah. Well, you're like, what? Oh, we haven't. What we did what? Oh, I was just working on the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kasisi's question also form a methodology that can help creative personnel do more work in less time. For me, I don't know the answer to that. I think it's easier said than done. I know that as much as I love the internet can be a very dangerous black hole of time.
Yes.
And because I love the fact that it's handy if you need to look something up. You go, oh, I need to know what this is. I'm going to look this up. And you can get the answer to it fairly quickly. If you kind of know what you're looking for, you can get the answer, pretty quickly. If you don't, it may take a little bit. But my problem is I find my answer, within 5 minutes, But then there's that other link that says,
Anything
"Oh,
else?
here's this other thing," and you're like, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Let me look at that." Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then 30 minutes later, you're like, "Crap, I got to get back to doing this." Right? Even just 30 minutes. I'm not, 30 minutes is 30 minutes.
It's a lot of money. That's a lot of time.
Yes. Yeah. I know you may have seen some really cool, because I know this happens with me when I'm looking up like weapons and stuff. It's like, oh, that's cool. Oh, look at that. Oh, and then I get to reading the history of the weapons and where they came from and who used them. And like, it's really cool information. But I had what I needed, 25 minutes ago.
You ever get the
it's
does your phone
dangerous.
ever tell you how much time you've spent, like a weekly update, how much time you spent on the phone? And I look at those
Yeah.
things and think, what else did I do with my time then? I'd be waking out on my phone. What am I doing with my life?
Deleting junk email takes a
Oh,
certain
yeah.
amount of time out of my day.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
totally.
yeah.
Totally.
I'm just like, really, please stop. And if I let it build up, it's even worse.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because occasionally I'll go and check my spam folder and the junk email, and there's like 1,000 messages in there, and I'm like, what the heck? Where do these come from?
Yeah.
And I'll scroll through a list, a page or two, but then I just click the button that says delete all.
Yeah.
It's like,
I had to do
Yeah.
that recently. I had to purge because I just couldn't catch up with it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, my son came to me the other day and was standing over my shoulder. He said, "Dad, you have 360 unread messages,
That's all.
emails."
And they're
I'm
all
like,
from Curtis. He won't leave you alone.
I'm like, I know. And he said, "So have you really not read them all?" I said, "Well, I've seen most of them, but most of them I use it as a kind of a to-do list. It's like, oh, I leave them unread, so I know I got to go back and do it." He goes, "Yeah, but what happens when they go off the page?" I said, "Usually they have to send me another email."
But you're a busy guy. I mean, you are heading a company with multiple people, and doing a full-time job. It's not easy.
That's why someone asked me the other day. They said, "Oh, this is the first annual." I said, "Oh no, no. We're not doing another one of these next year."
You learned it also.
Like, nope. This has
It's
been
special.
it's a Christmas special. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we'll never do another one. I'm just saying we're not doing one next year.
Not yet.
This has been way too much. Way too much for me to take on and
Plus, I
try to
can't
get all
work
the other
on-
stuff.
Yeah, I can't work on any other comics.
Well, that's it. It's like,
That's
we
it.
really
That's what I have time for. It's
we had
what
to
we focus on.
come up. We ended up that we for about a month-ish, 6 weeks. It's been like, okay, if you're working on a regular book and you're doing Christmas stuff, stop work on the regular book because we got to get the Christmas stuff done. Right. And so, yeah. And then there was, there's artists who didn't there's one story we've been trying to get in, and the writer has kind of done it all himself. And he's gone from one artist to the next artist to the next artist. And he sends me screenshots. He says, because I said, "Hey man, what's the update for your story?" And he sends me screenshots, and the artist that he's communicating with has said, "Hey, I'll have something for you Wednesday." So he sends you a message on Thursday. "Hey, just you check it in." He goes, "Oh no, this came up. I'll send you something over the weekend." Right. And he sends me screenshots of these messages from this artist. And I'm like, dude, you realize at this point in time, like I had to take it off of the page because the page was all fixed. Right. And I, with all of the stories that we had planned to be on there. So I had to remove that one. And so it still might happen, but I don't know. But yeah, it was one of these things like everybody, okay, if you're working on it, and that's where the priority list kind of came around. The way I said, okay, I got to do this because, okay, I can't have Mickey because Mickey's coloring several stories in this. Okay,
Yeah.
Mickey does not need to be coloring anything else other than and Roberta too. I sent it to Roberta. Roberta, don't do anything else other than the Christmas stuff, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, there was like so I mean, because see, that may be something is a priority list, and I'll tell you, I got the idea because we used to have weekly priority meetings at Malibu. Tom Mason basically had the weekly production Did you ever go to any of those, Roberta?
I think just like we had certain ones that we were involved in. Like, so
Okay.
it was maybe once a month we would be part of something.
Yeah, I know that.
Not that often.
I know that they're at the end. I think Mike Giles is the one who.
Mike had a lot of them.
Yeah, he's the one who kind of set in and as was a representative for the coloring department.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tom Mason had a list of stuff that basically, here's the stuff that's got to get done this week. Here's the stuff that has to be done next week. And we just kind of go over the next couple of weeks. And he would just update the schedule from him for Tom, because he was the one that was kind of over all of it. And so a priority list might be something. And I actually created a priority list for us on Discord, Kasisi, and told all the artists and all the people working on it, I'm like, hey, here's the priority list. Go check it out. Make sure that you got stuff going that should be going. And then once I did the first version, I went ahead and said, okay, well, I'll just add everything else on here too. But I'll tell y'all what, it's gotten to that point, and I don't know if you've noticed the Christmas video, and I need to reach out and email them. It's gotten to the point, we got so many people on our team. Now, this is a good thing, right? We've got so many people on our team. I'm always afraid that I'll accidentally forget somebody. Like, Curtis, we had this thing the other day that, for me and you, totally not intentional. And it just always makes me afraid that I'm going to do something, and I'm going to, I am going to unintentionally hurt somebody's feelings or something like that. And of course I would never do anything like that on purpose. But I know in watching our Christmas video, I watched all the names come up.
It was a lot.
And one of them I didn't say.
Oh.
And I know, right? And then but it's on the list, it's on the screen, but I didn't say it because the way I made the video, I put the names, we have we do all of our recording in the kind of the back bedroom, where BJ has the screen set up, and she'll set up her camera there, and then she takes
My mind makes someone else say.
Yeah, don't continue that if you want us to stay on Facebook.
No. You know what? It took me a minute to figure out what y'all talking about. I'm like, what are y'all talking about?
Sorry.
In the gutter.
The camera set up in the back bedroom.
Yeah. So anyway, right under the camera, she tapes the I type out what I want to say. Sometimes it's a bullet list, and sometimes it's I type out the actual words, but I had all the names on there. And there were so many names that I was, I'm trying to read off the names as I go, and I'm like, crap. So, Kasisi, stop it! Don't tell on me. But anyway, yeah.
I was shocked when you had that list. I'm like, it's still going.
Right?
How many people we have going?
It was like we should have had a post-credit sequence like at the Marvel movies,
Yeah.
I'm amazed.
Great.
Well,
Look how many people we have now.
yeah, it's very. I find it very cool.
Amazing.
A little intimidating, but very cool. And I will tell you this: the very last thing where I said ho ho ho, make mine Silverline, I actually meant to say Merry Christmas.
Oh.
I thought that was part of your bit.
Nope. I actually meant to say Merry Christmas, but after I said ho ho ho, make mine, because I'm thinking I'm ending, right? So I said make mine Silverline, and then I'm like, wait, that was supposed to be Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And so BJ and I. Yeah, well, that's what BJ said. She goes, I liked it. It works. I'm like, okay, well, we'll keep it then.
You got to be careful. You might say that like at the end of a business meeting at work or something like that.
All right, make mine Silverline.
Yeah. Roland.
So Kasisi says prioritization and sequencing is a good method. I think those methodologies are probably less common in the creative world. I think probably creatives have more in general structure, more like what Pete said. It's like, well, I'm gonna pay the one that I'm gonna work on the one that pays me the most, and oh well, I like this one best, so I'm gonna work on it in actuality.
And here I thought Pete prioritized by, is there a fire truck in this scene?
Yeah. Used to be, Dennis, used to be. I draw my allotment of fire trucks now. Drawing police cars now.
There you go.
I fell down one of those rabbit holes trying to Google fire trucks.
Right. Oh man. Yeah. Especially because
I have to Google American police uniform and American police cars, because then it changes by state as well. What's a New Orleans police car? What's a New Orleans police
well,
uniform?
the Chicago ones are
Normal,
well.
just kind of a standardized uniform across the.
So am I gonna have to start writing in the script? American police cars. American. Yeah, because your fire trucks look a lot different too, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
How's it the normal fire trucks?
Well, if you ever want to look at Brent Larson's scripts for Kalis, and it's fascinating because there's all these hyperlinks. It's always like, hey, I want you to do it where this guy, he's holding the bridge of his nose with his right hand at this angle. Look here, and then there's a Pinterest link, and you look on it.
Right.
It's like so specific, but it's cool, But it's fascinating. Yeah. You kind of see the thing taking shape as you're reading it that way.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and of course, one of the differences for his is he's writing full script where like what we're doing for the Silverline team up is plot first, Marvel method. So
and the language barrier too, a little bit between him and his team, right? There's a little bit.
Yes, because Lewis is from Argentina. Yeah, and apparently there's a language barrier between me and Pete too.
Yeah, we speak American and he speaks English.
Well, in the script you sent me for Cat and Mouse, it was you went into detail to explain what a strip mall was. Because I don't know if you have those over here, but it was like, I'm going to Google it. And then I thought what it was. Oh, yeah, I've seen loads of those in America. I get
it. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. Strip mall could have a totally different meaning, couldn't it?
We don't have strip malls. No, we don't have malls. We have shopping centers. But yeah, I know what a mall is. But you put strip mall, and I was like, yeah, I'll Google it. And then it's photos. Oh yeah. They're everywhere. I know what those are.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you know what? That brings up the thing with Google. Think about the other British artists of yesteryear, right? Like the Dave Gibbons and people like that. What they had to deal with. I mean, fortunately, it was Alan Moore writing for a lot of stuff. But I mean, the challenges, right, for reference back then must have been much bigger.
Well, also keep in mind too, back in the day, pre-internet, is that it was kind of beholden to the writer to supply visual images. If there was ever, I don't know if you remember any the early Mike Barr scripts, but he would have the script, and at the because particularly when he did the Spear of Destiny. The story, there were photocopies of the spear that he wanted it to look like. And that was on the writer to do. It's like, hey, I want it to look like this. Boom, here's the photocopies. You'd be surprised at the number of students I see put in their scripts. They'll write something and then they'll say, go look it up. They'll tell the artist to go look it up. And I'm like, no. How rude of that is that of you to tell the artist to go look at? I said, that's your job. Yeah. Your job is to supply them with the information. And the other thing I tell them, I said, well, here's the deal. You start treating your artist like that and you tell them to go look it up. Guess what? They're not going to look it up and they're just going to draw something. And then you're just going to have to say, well, that's not what I meant. And then they're going to say, well, you didn't give me the information, did you? Mm-hmm. I wish I wish I had some of those old scripts, but you would if you were the writer and you wanted something visually specific. I remember photocopying New Orleans. I remember going to the library, getting books on New Orleans, and photocopying pictures of Bourbon Street. Right now, for Pete, I just sent him links. It looks like this building.
So he went to the library.
Oh yeah, that was good. Those were good. Those were good images, weren't they? Yeah. But yeah, you would go and say, here it is in photocopy them off, and I used to have. I don't think I have it anymore. I think I used to have folders full of visual reference that I would just hang on to, so if I needed it again, I could just photocopy it and send it to them. The next star. Oh, here's what the Superdome looks like, right? Because I mean, if you don't watch football and you're not familiar with the New Orleans Saints or the Sugar Bowl, you don't know what the Superdome looks like. And even if you kind of know what it looks like in your head, you're like, well, I don't know exactly what the Superdome looks like. Well, here's your picture, right? Now you can just go to, I can just say the Superdome, and if Pete doesn't know what it looks like, he can look it up, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah, it's that's one of the advantages. Cassisi says waste elimination, value added activity versus non-value add activity, organization, etc. Oh, then he says, though I think applicable may not be used formally, and I think that's probably
what
true.
language is he speaking?
Edumacated. That's edumacated language.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure if I ever get a script from Cassisi, I'm going to spend a lot of time googling. What does he mean?
Yeah.
Who's he punching?
Yeah, I know a little bit about his background, but this doesn't sound like what I would imagine that that background carries with it. So I don't know what he does during the day. I don't know what his day job is.
I think he reads a thesaurus.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, but I used to keep a dictionary, a thesaurus, all that stuff on my desk. The only thing I keep on my desk anymore is this thing right here, Strunk and White's Elements of Style.
Mm-hmm.
What's that about?
It's
Better than MLK.
What's that?
Never mind.
Oh, it is a basic uses of grammar. I don't have as much problems because I've had this for so long, but I still have problems with apostrophes and words that end in s. And the very first pages, apostrophes, right? You can't see it, but the very first pages are about possessives. But it's just, very basic rules of a lot of common mistakes that you see and that made in writing. And this is the only, this is actually, so the first version, this is a 4th edition. I think they're on about the 10th edition now. But you can see this one was $9.99. My first version was $2.25. So this is the only book that I keep on my desk still. All right. So Cassisi says he laughed at us. Then he says he is a materials manager at the moment, but he's been in manufacturing for a little while. And then he said Stephen King recommends E.B. White's the Elements of Style in his On Writing book, and he said that book was essential, which I agree. I am not a Stephen King fan, but I actually do recommend Stephen King's On Writing because the last half of that book is all about writing, and it's some really the first half of the book is all about bio.
Good teacher of writing technique, isn't he?
Yes, yeah. But the first half of the book is all like a bio of him, and I wasn't that interested in that. So I just flipped through it and started reading his On Writing, but it's really good. It's a good book. I think when you want to, if you want to do something and be successful at it, you have to look at those who have been successful at it as well, right? And Stephen King has certainly been successful at it, so I would say he has something to say about it.
I
More
did
so
look up a style guide yesterday, or not yesterday, Friday.
You got a Stephen King style guide?
No.
Oh, you got a style
MLA handbook is what I had.
You got that? Why did you get that?
Yeah. Oh, I had that a long time ago when I was an English minor in Northridge.
Yeah. I was to say I have one of those, but why did you get that?
Because I wanted it and I wanted to get things right.
Because I needed something else to chase black holes down, right?
Enough stuff, right? Yeah. Teenagers isn't enough. But I did that I did look something up in it, actually. Isn't that funny?
Oh, very cool. Well, and that's a
Cool.
frustrating thing. I worked in the newspapers for a little while, and I was so accustomed to the MLA style, but the AP style is different. And I had to shift gears, and that was tough sometimes trying to remember. Okay, how do I do this? It's not MLA, it's AP, and so
Different,
very,
yeah.
very, very, very tough. And I never got my employment. The office had an AP book, but I never bought one myself. So probably good.
Probably just as well. Everything's online.
Right. Well, I just noticed the time, y'all. It looks like we are out of time. So
God,
that was
it went
us
quick.
talking about sick and comics, and not sick of comics though, because that's kind of why we're here. We are absolutely not sick of comics. Anybody got anything to add before we call it a night?
No, I think,
Not really,
good.
but
Yeah.
I appreciate the questions, especially Cassisi's.
Yes, yeah. Kasisi always asks good questions and gets us going. Yeah, and he actually Kasisi actually says, "Have a good night." So okay, so you guys don't forget to hold on. Let me find this one here. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. We need you to hit the like and the subscribe, so that when you do that, other people will see it. So don't forget to do that. Also, don't forget that we have our Christmas special campaign going on. Head on over to Indiegogo and look up Silverline Christmas, or on Kickstarter, look up Silverline Christmas there, and consider backing. It's going to be close to 100 pages, if not more, by the time we get done with it. So it's going to be a lot of cool, fun stuff for you to read, and it will, unless barring some problems that we can't foresee, it'll be here in time for Christmas. So it'll look really good under your Christmas tree. It'll make good gifts. So if you're like, well, I don't really want one, okay, buy one for that comic book reader in your family, because they're going to really like it. So Curtis, tell folks where they can find you online.
Sure. You can find me again, as always, two different paths: the martial arts and the comic books. Martial arts, Tiger Crane 805. That's on YouTube and Instagram. And for the comic book, it's Shadow Ghost Comic. That's on Facebook, on Instagram. So you can find me in those two spots. And also, I'm also a co-host of one of the new shows hosted by Silverline called The Comics Fu Show, where we talk about comic books and kung fu. And
that's every Tuesday at 3.
Well, we're just it's actually all pre-recorded, and we're just kind of releasing it in, we have kind of a different model. We're releasing segments of it as we edit it, and then it builds up to the full episode, which we'll release later. But we have Jose Figueroa on, and he's actually independent comic book creator and Tai Chi master. And also what's interesting is he's also one of the original members of what's called the Rocksteady Crew, which is one of hip hop's first breakdancing crews in New York. So we talk about
cool.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the video stuff with Shadow Ghost.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, soon, very soon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Brown says, wait. So I'm going to assume he's typing furiously something here. So, Roby, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Facebook under Roby Conroy, and Instagram. That would be the best place.
Excellent. And Pete, what about you? Where can folks find you on the interwebs?
On the Google. If you type into Google my name, it will come up with me.
You need to type your name and art, right? Peter Clinton Art.
Wow, yeah, Peter Clinton Art. Yes. Yeah. It'll get you somewhere.
I'm here for you. Okay, Stephen Brown, your question is really easy. He said, I want to know, after the crowdfunding is done, how would I be able to get the mailing addresses? That's the one thing I haven't figured out. So you should be able to. So on Kickstarter, for instance, they you send out surveys, and all of your backers will fill out a survey that includes their mailing address. And while I don't see any survey, there are no surveys on Indiegogo. They also have a place for the addresses there on Indiegogo. So that should be, you won't get that until it's done, though. You won't get the addresses until the end of it. Jackson Rennick is on, and he says, "Good night, Silverline." Jackson, good to see you here, my friend. Jackson's got a couple of stories in the Christmas special as well. So, and I am Roland. You can find me on Facebook, even though my account is restricted. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, all the social medias. Just look up Roland Man, and you'll see generally my caricature there. But I'm wearing it this week. But until next week, remember to make mine Silverline. And I'm gonna have to remember to put it on the other hand next time because I can't click buttons and do that at the same time. So good night, everyone.